I'm just going to say it. You leftists really suck at protesting. Seriously. Even in those instances you might have a point, you screw it up by trying to inconvenience and even endanger as many people as you possibly can, regardless of whether or not they have anything to do with whatever you overgrown man-children are whining about. This image in the video is of one of the most idiotic ideas for a protest I've heard of, called a die-in, which is where people lie on the ground and pretend they're dead. Now, this particular die-in was led by David Hogg. Yes, that very same David Hogg, and was at multiple locations of a regional supermarket chain in Florida called Publix for its donations to a pro-NRA gubernatorial candidate. While I find corporate donations to political candidates to be a tad sleazy, I'm still disappointed that Publix capitulated to them and think that they should have called the police immediately instead and perhaps finally gave these disrespectful little brats a much-needed dose of reality. But they have a right to protest, man, some of you will say, and while that may be true, you can't trespass on private property or create a public safety hazard by lying down in the middle of the floor where everyone and anyone can potentially trip over you. Going back to the image, while Publix may have caved, you notice how many pissed off shoppers there are? Just try to put yourself in that situation. They had nothing to do with the Parkland or any other shooting and may or may not support the NRA, but are there to do one of the most mundane activities of buying groceries. Now, I've worked at a grocery store for 10 years and have noticed that to many customers, grocery shopping is an unpleasant chore that they want to get out of the way as soon and with as little drama as possible. When things like that happen, that interfere with that, whether it's my fault or not, I as an employee often have to bear the brunt of customer anger and frustration. I had a customer yell at me once because I was taking too long. The reason I was taking so long is because the customer had multiple lotto tickets, which takes a little while to process. I'm 32 years old, only 32, and I'm already losing my hair, thanks in part to the stress of working in this industry, which I will get out of at some point. But for now, I guess it's a means to an end. Frankly, if I ever found out about such a protest at my store, if it were to ever occur, I'd have no choice but to call in sick for the sake of my sanity. But some of these protesters had their classmates killed by gun violence, some of you will say. While that's true, and while I did at first sympathize with the likes of David Hogg, even though I knew they were wrong, I lost that sympathy once David Hogg committed a crime by doxing Arby's executives because they advertised on conservative talk show host Laura Ingram's show. Now, while I understand that many of these teens believe they're doing the right thing and are understandably terrified, that still doesn't absolve them from the personal responsibility of their actions. I'm pretty sure doxing's, again, a crime. And for very good reason. In all fairness, though, the die-in isn't the worst form of protest. The prize for that, aside from actually using violence, which is what our good friends at Antifa love to do, the prize for that goes to blocking roads, which has become a common tactic for anti-Trump and Black Lives Matter protesters. But wait, it gets worse. There are even a few cases where these scumbags actually decided to block an ambulance, with one such case resulting in the death of a father of a 4-year-old child. To the pathetic filth that took part in that protest, I hope you're proud of yourselves for murdering an innocent person. If you're going to protest, by all means do so, so long as you remember a few things. There's a lovely invention called a sidewalk. There's a significant difference between private and public property, and that should be respected. Causing undue disruption to people who may or may not have anything to do with what you're protesting is only going to piss them off and cause you to lose support. There are reasons why events that require blocking roads usually require permits. Follow these steps, and though people may or may not agree with your message, they'll be less likely to want to crack down on you. which is actually going to benefit everyone because there are legitimate threats to freedom of speech and expression out there, and I don't want you idiots giving ammo to anyone that wants to do that. The Women's March, which will probably get its own video at some point, as asinine as that is, at least to its credit so far, has followed these guidelines, for the most part. If people that wear vagina costumes yet complain about rape culture, being objectified, and citing debunked statistics about a supposed wage gap can follow these rules, then why can't you guys?